Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. We're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about Gary Gygax's legacy, and we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons fixing broken people. I am fascinated with it. Okay, before we go a step further, spoiler warning for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I'm going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves with no limits, right? I'm going to say everything I want to say about this film because I am passionate, excited. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is the best content that has ever been put on film. It is the best film ever made. I never for 1 second thought George Lucas and J.K. Rowling would be surpassed on what they had been, on the films that they had been able to make. George Lucas has been surpassed. J.K. Rowling has been surpassed. They are in the dust of John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, who I will refer to going forward as Daley and Goldstein. Okay, and the directors of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, the best film ever made since film was invented. Right. And so let's get into this, but there's spoilers here. Warning, there's spoilers here. Let's go. Right, okay. All right, so first of all, I'm fascinated by this subject of Dungeons & Dragons fixing broken people, okay? Now, first of all, you are welcome to say, Scott, Dungeons & Dragons doesn't fix broken people, right? I understand where you're coming from, and the reason why you haven't, the reason why you may contest it is you haven't seen it. I get it. But I have seen it, right? And I have seen broken people fixed by Dungeons & Dragons. And I can also tell you right now, if you think I'm the only one saying this, you need to go look at Twitter. There are people on Twitter who will say every week, right? They'll say, oh, it's time for my therapy. They'll say it as a joke, and some of them will not laugh when they say it, right? And the reality is, people use all kinds of things to give themselves solace, to give themselves stability, to give themselves and sometimes the things they use are horrifically bad, a horrifically bad idea. But I am thoroughly convinced that it is my humble opinion that Gary Gygax did not create Dungeons & Dragons as a game. He created it as a human flourishment tool, and that he built this unparalleled tool to explore identity and an unparalleled tool to make stories matter, right? We had a period where stories literally were used to lead tribes, right? And now that tribe structure is gone, right? But that shamanic power of using a story to pierce the heart and the soul and the emotions of a person and speak right to their trauma and speak and guide them in a new direction with nothing but narrative alone, I believe, it is my humble opinion, that's what Gary restored. He created an icosahedron shaman whose tribe is 1 to 5 players. I'm the only person on the planet who believes this, right? And I understand there are obstacles to you joining me in this belief, but I believe it powerfully, right? And I believe the moment Daley and Goldstein sat down with Jeremy Crawford, Amanda Heyman, and Christopher Perkins, Gary's legacy absolutely echoed through every word of Christopher Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, and Amanda Heyman, because they do nothing but carry Gary Gygax's banner every single day, more powerfully than you will ever find anyone doing it in the OSR or in the indie scene, right? And so basically, the moment they sat down with the Dungeons & Dragons design team, I believe there was a direct connection right back to Gary, right? And so the story of Holga Kilgore is very purposely put into this film, in my humble opinion, to show us how to fix broken people, okay? So we have a model in America of fixing broken people. Oh, do you have a physical need? Do you have a physical health need? Do you have a mental health need? Oh, go to the government and tell them about that. See what happens, right? See what help you get back, right? And I'll tell you right now, the odds of you getting a solution are about 1 in 1,000 if you're lucky. If you're lucky, right? And there's been this meme that's been growing for a while, and the meme is, nobody's coming to save you, right? And right now, come on, yeah, we're 5 centimeters. President Joseph Biden has brought us 5 centimeters away from World War III. Like his cowardice, his lack of care for every American, his complete and utter ignorance on the financial struggles the nation is he can't solve anything, right? And this is where we're at right now. We know that the U.S. government they can barely supply what they promised, let alone what we need, right? So we're in this situation where we have broken people, and we need to we have these broken people, and we need to establish a space where we can move forward, and we can how do we fix broken people, right? Well, you don't have to listen to them, but there is a incredibly powerful tale in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves that says this is how you fix a broken person. And I think it echoes literally from Gary Gygax's grave. Gary Gygax spoke every day of his life and pointed everyone at Dungeons & Dragons and said, play this. I think the reason he said that was he wanted to impact every person. He wanted to make every person better. Now he speaks from his grave through his legacy, okay? What happens with Holga Kilgore in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves? Let's break it down. I want to talk this through, okay? So, there is a broken person in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. It is Edgin Darvis. He murders. He is responsible. He is 99% responsible for the death of his wife, right? The death of his mother, of his child's mother. It is a powerful, horrific thing that happens, right? And it's just so harsh and horrible, right? And so he steals from a Red Wizard of Thay, steals an entire block of gold. The treasure is imprinted. He leaves that at his home. The Red Wizards of Thay come to his home and they kill his wife. It's on him. It's 99% on him, right? He is responsible for the death of his wife. His greed, his avarice, his arrogance is responsible for the death of his wife. He comes out of this broken, and he turns to the bottle, okay? He is now he has a physical deficiency, and he has a mental deficiency, right? And this film says the following. It says, how do you fix a broken person? Here is how you fix a broken person: with love, time, and focus. And Holga Kilgore physically picks up Edgin Darvis and throws his drunk butt into a stable, and then sits down next to him and watches through the night and cares for him, makes sure he has food, and makes sure he does not pick up that bottle. She stays with him. She loves him purely platonically, right? She gives him her time, and she gives him her focus, and she gets him back on his feet, and she remains his undying, unbreakable loyalty friend. And she gives him her love, her time, and her attention, right? She doesn't have any counseling ability. She doesn't have any medicine for him. All she has is love, time, and focus. Isn't that exactly what we do at the Dungeon Master, in the Dungeon Master seat every single week? Scott, I don't love my player characters. Do you not? I do. I love every player who sits at my table. You want to know how? How I show that love? I write 3 to 6 hours of content every single week. And here's the love part. I'm ready to shred every word I prepared. If there is an eyebrow raise from a single player, I will sacrifice 6 hours of labor and not even think twice, because it is the standard that Gary set. You labor, you build, you plan, and then you destroy it if a single player raises an eyebrow in rejection. That's love, right? Time. 1 to 2 hours of my time outside the table for every hour at the table. Okay? And I will admit, some weeks a lot more than that. Even up to 4 to 7 hours I have routinely planned for even 1 hour at the table, right? And I'm a lightweight. I know there's people who do even more than that, right? I know there are people who play once a month. They might drop 20, 30 hours to a single table hour. Do you understand that? That's love. That's time. That's focus. And if you don't think that that has the power to fix a broken person, you're not paying attention to what they just showed in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which echoed directly from Gary Gygax, directly through Lorraine Williams, directly to Ryan Dansley, directly to Robin Hainsue, directly to Christopher Perkins, directly to Amanda Heyman, directly to John Francis Daly, directly to Jonathan Goldstein. This is a message that has been carried for 49 years. We fix people. We fix broken people with love, time, and attention. And in my humble opinion, the real message that came from Gary and the real message that's coming from Jonathan Francis Daly and John Francis Daly and John Goldstein is you can fix broken people with Dungeons & Dragons. They can't say it out loud. They can't say it plainly. It is only going to get clocked by you and me, right? Because this stuff is so deep. And I'm telling you, I've been saying this for 5 years. Nobody has a clue what Dungeons & Dragons actually is except me, and maybe Daly and Goldstein, right? And certainly others. And it's starting to show, right? There's a 5e product right now, Keys of Kymoria, that is coming out that literally talks about dungeon mastering from a therapeutic perspective, right? This is not just me. I'm not the only person saying this anymore, right? And so, and their message is different, certainly different than mine, right? But these are messages going in a parallel direction, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion, and it doesn't matter a lick compared to me hearing your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.